Welcome to the All Around Joe podcast, where we optimize your human performance from my personal experience as an athlete, coach, and all-around self-improvement junkie. On this edition of the All Around Joe podcast, we're going to be talking about how the sky is falling. Or is it? That's the question that a lot of people have right now. I know that it is a really interesting time with all of us being stuck at home and trying to figure out how to fill our time and trying to figure out if we're going to be able to continue making money, if the economy is going to tank, what we are going to be doing if the sky is falling. Well, I can tell you that I just got done drinking my morning coffee, sitting on the back porch, and because the sky is so clear, I could see Mount Rainier peeking out just like incredibly crystal clear through the trees that I was looking at. Now, you can usually see that from the place that I was sitting on a clear day, but there's something special. Like there's something crystal clear special that is happening right now by having so many people staying at home, not driving around their cars, not creating all of this pollution that we usually create. So I think that what I'm going to focus on with this particular podcast is how we need to focus on the positives and keep the negatives at bay. Because there are a ton of positive things. And I've told several people in the last week that I actually think that if we could take the virus out of this equation, and if we could take the part that people are not able to make income right now out of the equation, then this is a really cool thing that we have happening right now. There's a ton of really interesting stuff that's happening right now. There's all kinds of new connections. Like I've been connecting with people right now, not in person, like over Zoom and over FaceTime, that I would have never connected with otherwise. And I'm not saying that it's a situation where I would have been seeing those people otherwise. It's that because of this strange situation, everybody's just kind of interacting with people more often, even if it's not in person. So just the other day, we were on a Zoom call with people all over the world, including some family members that were in Israel. I mean, there was some in Israel. There was some, on the East Coast, some on the Northeast, some in Seattle, where we are right now, or outside of Seattle. There was people all over. And we wouldn't have had that, or at least I had never experienced that happening before this. And there's people that I would have not usually seen, and I might have sent a text message to, but instead of sending a text message to, we do a Zoom call, or even family members that I would see regularly, but I'm seeing even more now via Zoom and communicating even more with them. So it's like this, when you take the human interaction out of it, people are, or at least the amount of human interaction that we usually have out of our equation, then people are searching to have more of that human interaction, and they're going to the people that they know first, which is really interesting because in our everyday life, when this wasn't happening, maybe we were getting the human interaction filled in for us, but it wasn't high quality human interaction, right? It was like the human interaction when we talk with the person at the grocery store or at work that we don't really have a relationship with, or, at the restaurant or whatnot. And that was filling in our need to be connecting with people, but it was not high quality. So we didn't have the need to reach out to the people that we actually know. So we would never have these particular FaceTime or Zoom calls that we're having these days. So there's this really super cool thing. And also what comes about with this is there are people that are very outgoing and want to be with people, connecting with people, all kinds of different people, and they're struggling right now. And I'm finding that in the Get Better Project, when we do our weekly coaching, we ask questions about where people are stressed out. And this is one that's come up with a handful of people that they're not able to go out and have these interactions that they would usually have. And that's causing them a lot of stress. They're having to figure out ways of de-stressing because that's just not their norm. But I would say that the stress for the majority of people, that was probably the 10 or 15% that are feeling that way. And then at least with the population that I'm working with, then the other people are maybe having some medium stress, but then they're dealing with it and they're okay with it. I know for me personally, I don't feel like I hardly ever really need to have interaction with people. It's great to have Emily around constantly, and that's fantastic. And we have a fantastic relationship where we like to do almost all of the same things, which makes it really easy to be around her all the time. Obviously, we live in a van together, so that's working out. But it's fine to like go out in the woods and not see people for a long time and interact with them via text and via FaceTime. But there are people that have the opposite of that. And I understand that that can be something that's really hard for people. Like I find my creativity by being out and alone, whereas other people find their creativity by being with other people, and that helps them flow in that particular way. So you're having to figure out these things about yourself that I don't think a lot of people have thought about. Myself, I had to think about that a lot early on because I wanted to figure out how to be most effective and perform at my top, whether it be creatively, physically, whatever that may be. So I've thought about this a lot, and I can tell you exactly where I thrive on a daily basis and how much interaction I need and whatnot. But I don't think a lot of people actually thought about that before this particular circumstance. And I think that they're having to, which I think is awesome. I'm thinking a lot right now. If you can hear me say it, I'm thinking. So if you're in this situation and you're feeling a little bit overstressed, or you're not really sure why you're feeling out of sorts, it could be that you need to think about what type of human interaction and isolation is best for you and what areas you seem to be most effective in. Because that might not be where you're at right now, but just learning about yourself because you have the time and because you're actually taking the time to do it is super important. And I don't think a lot of people actually do it. So take the time to just think about that. As I am saying it right now, think about it. And hopefully, you know, when you're laying in bed tonight or when you're sitting outside in your patio or whatever you're doing, think about where are you most effective? What makes you feel the best? What situations? What human interactions? And people actually need to be picking and thinking about what other type of people they want to be around because it has so much effect on what type of person they are. And I know that I talk about that a lot with like the 5 people that you hang around most are the people that you're going to be like the most. So make sure that you pick those people appropriately. And early on in my life, when I realized that, I isolated myself. I was actually living in New York City, which is funny, right? A place where there's tons of people. And I isolated myself to only be around people that I could listen to. So I was listening to people like Tony Robbins a lot to have him be one of the people that I wanted to be like. And I didn't have other peers that were in my group that I could just go out and hang out with more. So I was listening via audiobook to all of these particular people in a city that was full of people. So I just put in my headphones and I would be direct to those particular people. There was one person I can think of in that particular time in my life that was a very influential, cool person to be around. But that was the only one that I could really think about. So I'd isolate myself in my apartment and via headphones in order to take on the attributes of those particular people that I wanted to be like that I didn't have in my everyday life, which is something that's really cool that you can do. And that's why I listen to, like I said, a lot of Tony Robbins, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Think and Grow Rich was another really good one. So there's tons of stuff out there, and I can give you a whole reading list if you're looking for things. I just can't think of them off the top of my head right now. But there's tons of things that you can listen to in order to help you to start becoming like those particular people, and it's awesome. Or read. You can also read it. But for me, I was traveling so much in and out of the city and going and seeing personal training clients that I didn't have a lot of time to be actually physically reading. I was listening to things, and that made it way more effective. And it actually bred a love for listening to books, and I hardly ever read anything physical anymore. And if somebody doesn't have an audiobook out and they haven't done a good job with the reader, then I'm pretty disappointed in them because that's how I consume a whole bunch of audio. So the next thing I want to talk about is actually the sky itself and how we have this clearing up of the pollution problem. And it's happening all over the world, and it's freaking amazing. Like the things that you're hearing that people are able to see through the sky that they weren't able to see before because of the pollution. Now, how are we going to actually solve this problem in the future? And that's another thing is I don't think a lot of people that I'm talking with are thinking about solving these particular problems. They have this attitude of like, this is how it is. That's not the case. We can all solve these problems, especially with the internet these days. We have the ability, like I am right now, to publish what I am thinking about that could run down the line of people who have the ability to solve these problems. And it all starts with these ideas that we basically germinate into the environment and see what happens, and hopefully people start to follow them. I mean, that's what I've done with this fitness stuff for my whole life. If I just didn't have these thoughts, or I thought that things just were the way that they are, or if, I believed that because 75% of the United States population, adult population, is overweight or obese, that's just how it is. Hell no, that's ridiculous. So I would have never been here. I would have never influenced the thousands of people that I've influenced. So I hope that you guys are thinking that you have the ability to influence as well, just by putting out these thoughts into the world. So what are we going to do with this issue that we're going to have come back at full force when people are able to roam again, and they hop in their cars and they burn through fuel, and it causes all this pollution? And I do think it's a pretty funny or interesting thing that when people are saying that the earth has caused this virus epidemic so that it can heal itself. I mean, it's an interesting thing, the interesting rabbit hole to go down, thing to think about, because the earth does seem to be doing a great job at cleaning itself out right now, cleaning it from the stuff the crap that we have put in it. Very interesting stuff. But I would be in 100%, or I would be 100% on board with putting down some restrictions. Like if we have to restrict ourselves right now so that we can only leave our house to pretty much do essential things, like go and get food, or go to your essential businesses, then why shouldn't we be putting more restrictions on things that are causing harm to the environment, like driving? What if we could only actually drive on certain days of the week, or some sort of situation like that, so it would cut down on the number of cars that are on the road and then the pollution? Then I think that's something that we would adapt to. We totally would. I mean, look at this. Like, how often have we been driving right now? Imagine if you could only drive half of the days a week, or, certain people could only drive Monday and Wednesday, and other people could drive Tuesday and Thursday. What if that happened? And then the next week, or like one week, somebody would drive Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and other people would drive, Tuesday, Thursday, and then it would switch to the next week. Something like that. I think it would be really interesting. When I first thought about it, I was thinking that would be terrible, because then I would have the freedom to drive when I needed to. But you would have the ability to get some sort of a pass if you're going to the store or something like that. But it would have to be, it has to have restrictions, and you have to be able to follow the rules. And obviously there's not going to be people that are going to follow the rules, but you have regulations, and you know that that's going to happen, and you also know that the majority are going to follow the rules, and that will do enough to combat what's going on. So then there could also be these little things that come into play, like, all right, if you have an electric car, then you are able to drive all of the days, assuming that we've decided that the electric cars are not creating some other kind of pollution that's not good. Then you could have that particular ability. And then it would move the car manufacturers faster towards producing those electric cars, because people wanted to be out and about and moving around like all the time. They don't want to be, driving around in these polluted vehicles because they can't drive them all the time. And you have to be thinking about these particular things. I think before this virus thing, we would have never, ever considered this. But I think that we should be thinking about it right now. And I hope that the officials, the people that have the ability to make these decisions, are thinking about things like this, because they need to be. Like, that's why they were put in those particular spaces. And it's made me think that, maybe I should have taken, or should take, this approach, because I'd be happy to make these decisions for people and start, taking on a bigger role. Not that I think that it's probably going to be worth it for my particular life, because I think that going out and enjoying myself and then showing other people how to do that is probably going to be my best bang for buck in this lifetime. But I have thought about that, because I don't know that those people that are up there in office that are making those decisions are making the best decisions, or even thinking the right thoughts to be making those best decisions. Anyway, going off on a little bit of a rant here. But if you have any ideas for other ways that you could improve the environment, or you could improve based off of this particular thing that's going on right now with this house arrest, a stay-at-home order, whatever it's called, I would love to hear it. Post about it, tag me in it, send me an email. I'm interested in knowing what you think. I just, was thinking about this, driving on certain days thing and how that would work and how I don't actually think that it would be as restrictive as we think. But what else is there? What else can you think of that would keep us from polluting the environment in a way, or, just bettering life in a way? I was thinking the other day about all these restaurants that are having trouble right now because they can't deliver food and there's not as much food going out from the restaurants. So the food gets delivered to the restaurants and then goes out to the people, and the amount of food that gets thrown away, and there's all that, and there's even more food getting thrown away right now, which begs to think that people are actually eating less. And the question is, are they actually eating less? I would waver on the side of that, maybe, but probably not a lot less. Even though they are eating at home, people have less to do, and people tend to eat when they don't have anything to do. They tend to fill their time with eating. So knowing that psychology of people, I would guess that there's probably a little bit less calorie being consumed, but it's probably not a lot less. And then I would want to think or put into your brain the ideas of what can we do with this excess food that is not being used right now, because the restaurants are getting the food that they had ordered, or they're not ordering it, so the farmers are producing it and it's stopping right there. What can be done about that would take that food and put it into a place that could either be saved or could actually be more accessible to be used? And I don't know, these are just thoughts that I'm having, and I'm kind of ranting here. As my own podcast, so you guys get to listen to it as I go and as my brain thinks about these particular things. So you are welcome. Let's see. The last thing that I want to touch upon is that I still believe that we have this amazing opportunity to get ourselves into amazing shape where we are right now. And going down this road again, my last podcast or 2 podcasts ago was about how we're in the best time in our lives to get into the best shape of our lives. And I do believe that. And I hope that people start to think about that you don't have to go so far out of your way to have this activity portion of your life be something that is much more accessible, and that just having a couple of dumbbells and a jump rope, or a couple kettlebells and a couple dumbbells, and this really cool environment at home, and being able to plug into a cool community and get things done quickly and efficiently without having to slog yourself and take a couple hours to go to the gym. And I'm saying a couple hours because it's like, you have the commute time and you have the gym time and then you have the other end of the commute time, that it's just so much more efficient. And we have to think about our time, and not only from fitness, but in all around, and the time that it takes us that we're wasting in order to drive places and pretty much commute. So I want people to think about, are you able to, or how can you take that first step to get yourself towards being fit, towards not wasting time in something like a commute? And it could be different for you. And I'm just like, this whole podcast has been about thinking about things a little bit more. So how to think about how you could get more fit with just taking one step in that right direction, getting some dumbbells, or starting off with a bodyweight program and then going towards dumbbells and having that evolution, because we do need to evolve, and you can evolve by doing only bodyweight stuff. And that's 100% fine. It just becomes more interesting, more easy once you add apparatuses into the equation, and it becomes more, like I said, interesting, more ideas, all of that stuff. So anyway, guys, I hope you're okay with this rant today. I don't think the sky is falling. I think we've got tons of cool stuff that we're learning from this particular situation, and it's going to be making the world better for us down the road. And I hope that we don't have a resurgence, like we learn from what's going on right now and we actually make changes in order to continue making the world and ourselves, the world a better place and ourselves better people for the future. Because it seems like we've been going down this road of technology getting better, but us as people getting worse. So let's have technology get better and us as people get better, so that we have this effect that amplifies everything. See how that would work? I hope so. I hope that you are the type of person that is thinking about these particular things, and I hope that you reach out to me and let me know what your thoughts are, because I would love to hear them. All right, guys, that's what I have for you today. Hope you enjoyed this Sky is Falling, or Is It podcast. I don't think it is. And if you guys would like to get into the Get Better Project, please send me your email or head over to the getbetterproject.com/30 days. You get 30 days for free right now. And I'm not sure how much longer that's going to last, especially if we lose the stay-at-home order and we're able to roam again. It'll probably go back to the 2 weeks for free rather than 30 days. So if you guys would like to get into that, just head over to the getbetterproject.com/30 days. Let me know if you have any questions, or you can just send me your email and say, I want into the Get Better Project, and I will do that for you. And I hope that you guys are having a fantastic day, a fantastic week, and a fantastic month, and that you are bettering yourself all the time. I'm here for you if you need anything, and I will talk to you soon. The All Around Joe podcast, where we optimize your human performance from my personal experience as an athlete, coach, and all-around self-improvement junkie. I will see you